Hi everybody, Rob here with another Driving the West, and today I was going to show you a drive from Grand Junction, Colorado over to Palisade, a nearby town. So this is just mainly me testing out mounting locations on the for the GoPro on the car, but there's a little bit of stuff we can talk about along the way, so let's go for a ride. Starting off today in Grand Junction, like I mentioned, we're getting on Interstate 70 eastbound from Horizon Drive. You might notice an occasional rattling in this video, and that is my hood support. There's not a clip in the radiator support bracket. The clip is broken, so the hood support, when you prop open the hood, it sometimes rattles, especially when the engine's vibrating a lot, either at very, very low RPMs or during acceleration. So you might notice that a couple times in here. That is on my list of things to get fixed, and we'll do a fixed video on that. But don't worry about it. If you hear it, it is not anything catastrophic or negative that's about to happen to the vehicle. So I recorded this a couple days ago, and although it looks fairly smoky here, the air quality has actually gotten worse. So when you look at this, just think about all the smoke that we've got across the west out here. And this was taken before a lot of the smoke from the big California fires really moved into the Grand Valley area. We also have a couple local fires that have started since this video was shot. So there's actually a fair bit more smoke here. In fact, when I was driving home today, I couldn't even see the landscape that you see in front of me here. At some point here, there's an airplane actually that you see taking off from the Grand Junction Regional Airport and flying across to the right. That's an air tanker, and it's going out to fight some of these fires that are in the area. But just to orient you as we drive along 70 here, we've got two major landforms on the eastern end of the Grand Valley. One is the terminus of the Book Cliffs, which border the Grand Valley to the north. That is Mount Garfield. That's the prominent point on the left-hand side of the screen there. And then directly ahead of us on the highway here, we've got Grand Mesa, which is the tallest feature in the Grand Valley. A lot of people think of Colorado as having, mountain peaks everywhere, but here on the western slope, we're actually really close to Utah, so it's very deserty, as you can tell from some of the cliffs on the left-hand side. So the Grand Mesa is the closest thing that we have to mountains in the Grand Valley. It rises up to about 11,000 feet, and it's forested on top. We'll do a Driving the West episode across there, maybe in the fall, to catch some of the fall colors. It's pretty neat. It's a nice area up there, and it's really prominent in the region. You can see it from quite a ways off, and we're probably going to see quite a bit of it in not only this video, of course, but also in future videos I'll be referencing it. So as we're driving along, again on I-70 eastbound, we leave Grand Junction itself and we pass through another community called Clifton. There's an exit coming up here after we pass the airport. And Clifton used to be this separate town. We've got several areas within the Grand Valley that are sort of amalgamated together. There's about 150,000 people within Mesa County, and the majority of those live within the Grand Valley. So some of the communities are Palisade in the east, Clifton, we've got Orchard Mesa, there's of course Grand Junction itself, we also have Fruta out to the west, and Loma and Mac. But Clifton is sort of this unique area that's in between Palisade and Grand Junction. It gets a bad rep a lot of times within the Grand Valley as sort of this rundown place, but some pretty nice spots to it as well. So this is the Clifton exit when you're heading eastbound, and it's just a simple off-ramp. The on-ramp when you're going westbound is this ridiculous semi-cloverleaf thing with a super sharp turn at the end. We'll do a video of that at some point. You can just see where people have been slamming their vehicles into this poor wall. Now we're past the Orchard Mesa exit. You can really see Mount Garfield out in front of us here as we continue along I-70. It's a really prominent point, as I mentioned earlier. and it's again visible from a lot of the Grand Valley. It's one of sort of the three local landmarks. I mentioned two: Mount Garfield, Grand Mesa, and then the third is a drive we'll take at some point here in the probably near future once the smoke clears up, and that is going to be Colorado National Monument, which is on the southwest side of the valley. So those are sort of three bounding things. There's a hiking trail that actually goes up to Mount Garfield. It's really steep, and it's generally not recommended for summertime hiking. You can see those slopes there. It's composed of Mankish shale, which is the bottom of this ancient ocean that existed here about 110 million years ago or so. And you're basically climbing up ancient ocean mud to reach that hard sandstone cap on the top. It's pretty daunting. I haven't done it myself. I was actually going to do it originally the day that I filmed this with a buddy of mine, but because of the air quality, we decided to opt out of it and save our lungs. So perhaps this fall I'll get to take a hike and we'll do a quick drive video going to the trailhead from somewhere in Palisade. So Palisade is our destination for today's drive. I'm going to go out and meet my hiking buddy. We didn't go hiking, like I said, at a local craft distillery. There's a craft distillery and a brewery in Palisade. So after work we decided to go and hang out. So that is the destination for our drive today. As you drive along I-70, and this video doesn't show it very well, but as you drive along I-70 along the Book Cliffs to the north here on our left hand side of the screen, you'll oftentimes see some remnants of human structures. You might be wondering, is this some sort of ancient, Native American dwellings? Is this some sort of military thing? The answer is no, they are actually mines. So the sea deposits and then the sandstone at the top, which is called the Mesa Verde Group, records this ancient seaway in the area retreating. So about, like I said, 110 million years ago, this area was covered with an ocean, and that ocean was gradually shrinking out to the east. So as the ocean left, you were then on a beach environment, and then you were in a swamp behind the beach, and then the ocean came back. So it's this series of sandstones and shales that go along here. And in these shoreline, near shore, and swamp deposits, you have coal. And so the first Anglo folks into the Grand Valley back in the 1800s set up coal mines all along this face of the Book Cliffs in order to mine out that coal for the local industries. So you just saw the exit sign for Palisade there. We're coming up on it here real soon. Palisade is sort of the last major commercial agricultural area in the Grand Valley that's still doing things like orchards and vineyards. There's a few vineyards in Grand Junction, and then out in Loma and Mac, there's a fair amount of agriculture, but that seems to mainly be alfalfa. So here on the eastern end of the valley, Palisade is known for its peaches all across the western slope. It's not just here in the Grand Valley, but down in Delta County, Montrose. Even when I go over to Moab, I'll see signs that say fresh Palisade peaches. So that's sort of what Palisade is known for here. So we're going to get off of I-70, and we're going to go down to the stop sign here on the one and only accessible Palisade freeway exit. There's sort of another funky thing further up that we might take a drive to later. But this is the main Palisade exit. And they just put in a new gas station down here at the stop sign that you're going to see. So there's our gas station on the left. Now we're heading to Palisade. You can already see that there's these vineyards around us on the left and right. And there's a couple of fruit stands that are coming up here. You can see the signs for them. You can see them up ahead on the right as well. And we're going to go take a quick tour of sort of downtown Palisade. We're not going to go directly to the distillery. This is partially because I wanted to give everyone a sort of mini tour. Here's my fruit stand on the right. And also partially because I forgot which street to turn on, because the place is called Peach Street Distillers, but it's not actually, you don't actually turn on Peach Street, so I got myself confused. So we're going to take a little quick tour. So we've made the turn. We're headed towards downtown Palisade. You can see we're going through a residential area, and there's a lot of old homes in here. So the Grand Valley was originally settled by Anglo folks back in the late 1800s. I forget the exact year, I think it might be 1888 or 1889. And the railroad came in, and this allowed people to get transported in easily. It also allowed anything that was being produced in the area to be shipped back to markets in the east. So this is sort of the eastern portal to the Grand Valley, so this is one of the first places to spring up. There's an old train station in town that's no longer in use. The train still goes through the town. In fact, if you're riding Amtrak from Salt Lake to Denver, you go through Palisade, but it doesn't stop here. It stops in Grand Junction. So there's a lot of historic houses and a lot of historic business buildings in the downtown district. And you can see a lot of these here along the drive. Speaking of the railroad tracks, you can see them on the right-hand side here. We're actually going to come up to a stop sign, and then we're going to cross these railroad tracks. So this will be the first of 2 times we cross the tracks here. We really only needed to cross them once, but like I said, I took a slight detour to give you all a better view, and also because I forgot which street to turn on. Peach Street Distillers sits on the north side of the tracks, so the side that we just left. So we are now on the opposite side of the tracks from our final destination, but we're not too far away. It's just a few blocks over past the main historic district. And you can see, you know, there's some old cottonwoods, there's a lot of old trees in this town. There's cottonwoods, there's also catalpa trees, but the drought, things are just really dry. When we were sitting outside here in Palisade, my buddy and I were commenting on just how dry everything was and how these trees that are pretty drought resistant and that are getting water because they're maintained are still drying up and leaves are falling off early. So here we are coming into the main business district of Palisade. You can see again these historical buildings here. And after we pass through basically this block here, we're going to make a right. That's not actually Peach Street that we make a right on. But we're going to make this right here. We're going to cross the tracks again. And you can see on the left there, we've got the distillery on the far side of the tracks. And directly in front of us, again, the book cliffs looking majestic in the evening sun. As we sweep to the left, we'll be able to see Mount Garfield kind of going behind the building right there. We're going to take our spot here, and we're going to go into the building. So that concludes our drive. Thank you so much for joining me on my drive from Grand Junction to Palisade. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like. And if you want to see more stuff where I'm driving across the west, checking out some roads, maybe freeways, maybe some back roads, never know what's going to happen next, subscribe and let me know if there's certain road that you'd like to see that maybe you haven't been down yet and you've got an itch for. So again, thanks for joining me on Driving the West.